Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, we're looking at another mod, but this one is very much like the nanobot build and repair system, but slightly less cheaty because it cannot access blocks behind blocks. It has to do exactly what you would do with a tool and grind all the way through it. So this is called the Beam Turret Multitool, which is this lovely thing that's currently sitting right next to me. I have no idea where my character just went. I was on the wrong controls there. Yes, it's a very simple little turret that does have an additional effect on there if you have the animation core enabled in your world, where there's a little barrel at the front with the two thin metal bars will retract into the turret's head. It'll then seal up where you can see the hazard skin just dotted around the top and bottom of the turret barrel, and it'll just look all nice and neat while it's inactive. So what I'm going to do very quickly, just grab hold of my character, bring him back to the platform, and get into the seat. Here we go. So with the free camera all the way back over like so, what I'm going to do now is deactivate the turret, where the barrel will now pull it all the way in, and it closes up, then the light on the front of it will turn red to signify that it's deactivated or turned off. It'll do the exact same thing if we were to switch off the power, so reactivating this, turning off the power, exact same thing happens. We realign the camera so we can get a front view of it, there we go. Now activating it once again, pops out, retracts back in. Put the camera all the way through and onto the inside of this thing. So here we are, that's simply what it looks like when it's all hidden away, putting on my light. There we are, activating it once again, and out it pops. It's just a nifty thing to have if you do want to use the animation engine in your world. Anyway, now coming away from that, I have no idea what I just did there, so let's just try and fix that up. There we are. What I'm going to do now is showcase what this thing can do, then we'll go through all the costs and all that, and I think I'll end it out with a bit of silliness. So, much like the nanobot build and repair system, we've got two functionalities where we can grind things up or weld things up within a certain radius. This turret in particular can only be put on a large block grid and has a maximum range of 100 meters, so we can't really snipe enemies with this. We can't really use it as a proper defense system unless the enemies get really close, but if they are within 100 meters, then that will typically mean they either have no ammo or they have no guns on their ship. But yes, hopping out of here and actually spawning in the block in front of it, this thing should be set on default to grind up, so as to drop down a purple block, what's going to happen is now going to shoot out a big old beam, and it will slowly deconstruct it. It's very similar speed to the actual grinding tool, so to drop this down once again, let it do its thing, and there we are. It's very similar to having a proficient grinder in your hand, except that it has a much longer range. So to spawn in something a lot bigger so we can actually get a clear view of what's going on here, I'm going to spawn in the good old Dex Fighter, drop it in like so, and now the beam should start up, and it should hopefully start to grind it away. I might need to come back into here because I did put the safety on to stop it from grinding up allied grids. Back into here, into this, control panel, finding the turret all the way down, and it should be able to grind stuff up. There we go. So the free camera all the way back over to the turret, we can see how that's now moving around. It does have a very thin red line that you might be able to see occasionally as it slowly moves around and pinpoint targets different stuff to grind up. That will then lead to the target, then the beam will activate, and it will start to grind stuff up. But looking at it like so, you see how it's moving around there, how it's gimbling around to actually get to what it needs to grind up. Then over to the Dex Fighter, there we go, it's now very slowly grinding up all those small steel blocks. It'll keep going until it's completely deconstructed, and even all the blocks sitting on the ground there will also be deconstructed as long as the turret has a clear line inside of it. But now, what if I wanted to weld stuff up? Well, grabbing on my character once again, coming to this and switching to weld up, what's going to happen is the beam will now change to a blue colouring. Now, it's not going to be able to weld stuff up because it was grinding stuff up very quickly to the point they were getting destroyed. So I need to hop out of here, grab hold of my basic grinder, come over to the nice chunky block like the connector right here, and there we go, there is blue beam, because I hide the HUD there, and just keep grinding on this. You see now that I'm finding the welder, and if I bring up the HUD once again, nothing is going to happen because it is outdoing this grinder. Yes, that's all it does, simply changes the colour, and works as you expect. But as for that, what I'm going to do now is switch this back over to the grinder. Now I'm going to grab hold of the free camera once again, we're going to get a better look at the overall model, and of course down and below it, and then the cost. So we'll start round at the very front here, here we go. This is what we get, it's using all the beams shooting out of the screen. Yes, we've got a gimbal turret at the top there, which of course has the barrel and the metal bars that we talked about at the very start, but it has a skin on the little hatch where it retracts and extends out of. But down below onto the base here, we then got a green strip which will change to red when we turn it off, or of course deactivate it. If we get a bit closer up and over to here, we can see we've got a fake little camera on the side there, which is what I think would be leading around that red line, which you can clearly see it right there, as a very good pause for that turret. That's what I'd imagine would be leading that red line to dictate what it should grind up next. Onto the side, here we go. There we are, that's all we can see. round towards the back of this thing. There we see it moving up and down, and of course twiddling around ever so slightly. Moving down underneath it, there's your connection point connected up to your main base, so if it's grinding everything up, you can now funnel stuff into your cargo containers, or you can use the stuff in your cargo containers to actually repair stuff up. Moving all the way up and looking down. There we go. And there we are, the outside. So grabbing hold of my character once again, hiding away my grinder, coming into here and actually finding the multi-tool. So this thing, like I said, is only for a large block grid, it's got a 100-meter range, and it uses 2 motors, 20 thruster components, 20 computers, 50 superconductors, 120 construction components, and 50 interior plates, so it's not too bad to build at the end of the day. And being it does not use power for whatever reason, I'm not too sure why it's functioning like it is, but this grid does not have any kind of power grids, no batteries, no reactors, no solar panels hidden away. It's just functioning just straight out of the box, to the point they have to drop down another one right next to it. It'll simply activate and start deconstructing the grid I was trying to do showcase on. While it is deconstructing the grid, what I'm going to do quickly is now hop back into here and go through a few of the important controls. So of course, number 1's could be to turn it on and off, which will do like I said at the start of the video, and what I showcased at the start of the video, and make it retract and turn that green light red. Activating it once again, and away it goes. Number 3 is to activate and deactivate it, that's the same as turning it on and off. We then have number 4, which is going to be to turn the draw on and off, and what this is going to do is activate a big old line, which is a dark green colour, that will show you the maximum range of the turret when it's inactive. So to turn that off, there we go, there is the green line, and simply go all the way across through the ground there till it displays the full 100 meters, which is a very nifty thing to have if you don't know how far away you are from a target, and you want to make sure you're only grinding away the surface of a ship or a base. Make sure you don't accidentally grind up any of the important stuff in the middle. Now the turret has been destroyed, but the final thing would be to switch it between grinding and welding. But of course you can always do that in the manual control menu, but it's a handy thing to have on the hotbar. So if you say you have this attached onto a ship and you're flying over an ally, you can then switch that on and start repairing up their ship if they ever took damage in combat. As for that, what I'm going to do now is move away from this area before that whole platform gets deconstructed, and hopefully find a nice safe space. So just dropping down my character right over here, here we go, I can now spawn a brand new one. So what I'm going to do with this one is just tilt it all the way around so we can actually get a good look in the control panel itself, before we move over to the silly part of this video, where I'm going to fly over a bunch of them all lined together. Then after that I'm going to spawn in even more of them to fly over a large ship to see how quickly it gets deconstructed. So inside the control panel, into here, here's the beam turret multi-tool, and as you can expect we've got all our usual stuff at the top, then all the way down to the bottom, here's our main controls. We've got activate on and off, so we don't have to switch it off at the top there if we don't want to. Then right below we then got our mode, switch it from grinding to welding, which we can also do from the cockpit view, as you saw on that previous platform. Down below here, we then got draw on and off, which is going to be to display that dark green line so we see the maximum range of this turret, make sure we're not going to grind up anything we don't want to grind up. And of course we've got work on our own grid, which you do want to have turned off, and only turn it on if you really need to. Also turn it off for working on friendly grids, and maybe even neutrals. Keep it on for hostiles, because you could use this as a point defense turret if they do somehow get really close to you. And then down here is a very important one, which I would recommend using on any modded turret that's able to grind stuff up, and that's to use work colouring. So activating that, we get a few more options down to here, where we can select a work colour, where if you were to say, put that into your colour picker right here, you can now paint an entire grid, then only that grid with that colour will be grinded up or welded up. It's a very handy thing to have if you only want to grind up a certain section of a ship, so you can go around painting all the stuff you want to have grinded up, and only that will get grinded up. And of course, if you have a very particular colour you want to actually use as a grinding colour, let's say I want to have this blue colour over here, we come back into the turret, all the way down towards the very bottom, and you see set from colour picker, which now activates and select the blue colour that we have set in the colour picker itself. It will just save you from having to use the sliders down here in order to get the perfect colouring to match what you had in the colour picker itself. But yes, as for that, that's all the controls and what it does. Now it's time for the silly part, like I said, where what I'm going to do now is spawn in the good old Dex Fighter once again. Hopefully I can get past this turret that's currently upside down. And we're going to fly over a bunch of them that have lined up the Mycene in the distance in the pink colouring. And see how quickly they can tear this thing apart. So turning this thing around, making sure that turret does not accidentally hit into me. And away we go. There they all are right there. So we're hiding all the HUDs, getting a bit closer, and hopefully they will attack me. Yes, they will. There goes all the beams. And as you can expect, it's not the fastest thing in the world, as in there's plenty of time for you to scoot over the top of these and get out of their range. But once they have locked onto you, once you have slowed down, that's pretty much it for your poor little ship, so they are going to tear you apart. We come all the way down, look at all of these. Anyway, that's what it looks like from down below here. And you can see occasionally that little red line of where they're going to be targeting. But yes, this is not enough. What I need to have is a lot more of these. And we're just going to line them all up. Then spawn in the good old albatross that will fly over the top of them. And here we go to finish off this video. What I've done is spawned in a bunch of the beam turrets. So much so that I'm expecting this to simply crash as soon as they activate. But look at that sheer number. Now there was a small little issue when I was attaching them all onto each other where they sort of just flipped out and did a backflip. In fact, you can see a hole right there on the ground there where it just suddenly flipped over. Not too sure why that happened. But yes, what I'm going to do now is take over the albatross. I'm going to fly it slowly towards these turrets. Now we're going to do it like so we can actually see all the turrets pop up and activate. There we go, we're now getting within range. This ship is a very, very big ship. Here we go, all the way over to it. Anytime now. And there we are, there goes all the turrets. Look at that go! My god, it's a disco! And we are slowly being deconstructed. That thing is not doing too well. Now I'm going to take over it once again, turn this thing all the way around. I have a feeling it's taking out all my thrusters on the front. Now I'm just going to fly over it once again, a little bit lower this time, and a little bit slower. So all the way down like so. Moving it forwards, hiding all the HUD there, and going forwards. So in about 3, 2, 1, I can already feel the lag building up. And look at that, it's a sheer wave of deconstruction as it just plows all the way through the ship. But yes, as you saw there, it's not actually doing too much overall to the base body of the ship. It flipped a few blocks here and there to the point that I can't actually slow down. So what I'm going to do now is turn this thing all the way around once again. But this time I'll try and get myself to stop on top of it so you get a better view of what's going on with it. But yes, like I said earlier, it's not the strongest turret in the world. It's not going to be used for combat. But if you do have a pesky drone that has been disarmed, then it could be a very easy way to actually get rid of it, in case it is just hovering around being a little nuisance. And here we go, we're now approaching it once again. They've now all activated, bringing this thing to the top, because I did have to activate a few more thrusters, but look at that, look at the sheer disco ball of all the lights going off it. Look at that, my god, what is happening here? Oh god, there goes the cockpit. I've been kicked out of the third person camera, but look at that, putting the camera all the way through. That is absolutely magnificent and glorious. Coming all the way up to the top there so we can see what is going on there. That's actually quite horrific with the sheer flashing. But onto the side, all the way around, putting on my light to try and dim the flashing of the lights. That's not going to help in the slightest. But that thing is slowly being deconstructed. That is an absolute fantastic showcase of what this beam turret can do en masse. As for that, that's pretty much it for this video and all the beam turret Multitool has to offer. That thing's now going to come crashing down to there, crushing a bunch of them. But yes, as I was saying, that's pretty much it for the beam turret Multitool. It's a fantastic thing to have in your world if you do want to have a long range turret to grind stuff up, weld stuff up, and to be a general quality of life thing. Make sure you don't have to go all the way up to the turret and physically touch it in order to grind it up and to weld it. So be a link to it in the description below if you wish to download it and play around with yourself. Highly recommend you do. And I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.